Hello, in this session I have explained about the osteology part. In osteology part 1, I have discussed about various aspects of introduction about the bones and the skeletal systems. Okay, so I have discussed about the bone physiologies, the various type of bone cells, then different types of bones, then their microscopic structure, and also the embryological aspect of the skeletal system. Okay, so everywhere I have been discussing about the applied anatomy aspect also, and this part 1 of osteology, it covers maximum of physiological aspect of the bones. This part will be the introductory part, and let's start with the session now. So coming to the bone and the skeletal tissue, first we will discuss about the cartilage, their types, their locations, etc., etc. So there are some certain common features for the cartilage. Okay, cartilage, they have no blood vessels or nerve endings inside them. So if there is nerve endings, if there is a break in the cartilage, it's not going to give any pain. If there is no blood vessels, if there is a break in the cartilage, it's not going to heal. Okay, so these cartilage cells primarily consist of water. Then the outer surface of the cartilage, we call it as perichondrium. So in total there are 3 types of cartilage. One is a hyaline cartilage, the elastic cartilage, and the fibrocartilage. So we are going to discuss all this in detail. So if you look at the types of cartilage, these hyaline cartilages are the cartilage that is present in maximum part of the body. Okay, for example, these hyaline cartilages are present in the ends of all articulating bones. Then it is found in the ribs, larynx, nasal bridge. Okay, if you see in this picture, the ends of the bones, that is where all the articulating is taking place, these articulating places are covered by this hyaline articular cartilage. Okay, and moreover, this hyaline articular cartilage is also present in the ribs. Okay, you see, this is the hyaline articular cartilage, this is the hyaline articular cartilage. So these are all the place where in this place slight degree of movement is permitted. Okay, by the flexibility nature of these cartilages, slight degree of movement is permitted. Next, the fibrocartilage, it's very compressible and strong, and they are made up of chondrocytes and collagen fibers found in the menisci of the knee. So in the knee there are 2 menisci discs, I will show you. Then the intervertebral disc, or then the pubis symphysis joints, all this place are having this fibrocartilage. Okay, then the elastic cartilage, it is found in the ear pinna and the epiglottis. They are more elastic in nature. When you look in microscope, you can see a lot of elastic fibers in this elastic cartilage. Okay, so you can see all these blue shades where you see here is the cartilaginous structures, the nose, then the ear pinna, then the articulating surfaces of all long bones. Okay, then the hyaline cartilage is also present in the tracheal rings. So these are some of the locations of the hyaline cartilage. Okay, next, coming here, you have this hyaline cartilage. It provides support, flexibility, and resilience. It is most abundant in skeletal cartilage. It is present in these cartilages. Okay, so it is present in the articulating surfaces, ribs, then respiratory passage, and also the nasal areas. Okay, elastic cartilages, as I told you, they are having more elastic fibers. They withstand repeated bending, and found in the epiglottis. Epiglottis is present in the junction between the respiratory and the digestive tract. Okay, so I will show you that and explain. Then fibrocartilages are weight bearing cartilages, so it acts as a shock absorber mainly. So these fibrocartilages tissues are highly compressible in nature and it is having great tensile force. Okay, so coming to this growth of cartilage. Okay, you know, the cartilage growth is having two types of growth. One is appositional growth and interstitial growth. So the appositional growth is the growth is taking place from the perichondrium surface, that is from the outermost surface. The cells keeps multiplying and the cartilage grows. This is one type of growth. Whereas the interstitial growth is from the inner aspect of the cartilage. The cells multiply and they keep growing. Okay, so as age progresses, these chondrocyte cells are replaced with this kind of calcium substance. So that's why these cartilages, they go into calcification, and this happens in old age. Okay, so coming to the bones, if you look at the bones, there are different main functions for the bones. You know, there are 206 bones in the body. There are 206 bones in the body. These bones, they provide support, they provide protection. So in support, in sense, they support all the internal organs. Then they protect, in sense, they protect the brain, they protect the lungs, they protect the pelvic organs, they protect the spinal cord. Okay, so likewise the bones give the protection, and bones are mainly responsible for movements. Okay, you are there are different types of movements. We will discuss this in other part. So like for example, adduction, abduction, these are all the different types of movements in the body. Okay, so this movement is taking place when two bones are articulating. Okay, so the muscle around the joints, they contract and allows the articulation, and thereby movement is produced. Okay, then the minerals, the calcium and phosphate, is stored in the bone. So whenever there is requirement of calcium, the blood takes calcium from the bone and utilizes them. Okay, so the calcium, since there is presence of calcium, the bones are visible in the x-rays. If the calciums are absent, the bones will not be visible. Okay, so blood cell formation. Okay, this is a big mechanism. So in the middle of the bone, at the center of the bone, there are some spongy tissues, and then there are some bone marrow. So in the bone marrow, these blood cells are formed. Okay, we call that function as hemopoiesis or hematopoiesis, whatever, however you may call. Okay, then fat storage. As I told you, as age progresses, the red bone marrow is replaced into fat cells, and these fats are stored in the bone cavity. Okay, this is taking place when the age is progressing. Then hormone production. As I told you, the bone produces a hormone called osteocalcin. Okay, a hormone which not only helps regulate bone formation but also protects against obesity, glucose intolerance, and diabetes mellitus. Okay, then let's go to the classification of bones. So we classify the bones according to the location. So in the axial region as well as appendicular region. Just know, axial means it is the cranium and the spinal cord, and also the cranium, the vertebral column, and also the ribs. Okay, appendicular means the limb bones. Okay, upper limb bones and lower limb bones. Okay, so what you see here is the brown color area is the axial bones. It includes cranium, vertebral column, and the ribs, 12 pairs of ribs. Appendicular skeleton is the upper limb bones. It starts from clavicle and the scapula, and it goes all the way up to the phalanges. Likewise, it starts in the innominate bone, the pelvic bone, and goes up to the greater toe. Okay, these are all the bones of the appendicular skeleton. Okay, so coming to the classification according to the shape of the bone. Coming to the classification according to the shape of the bone, you have long bone, short bone, flat bone, irregular bones. Okay, so all the bones which are long, we call it as long bones. For example, like upper limb bones, lower limb bones, all these bones are longer structures. Okay, so short bones, there are many small bones. Okay, For example, the carpal bones, the wrist joint, the tarsal bone. There are 7 tarsal bones in the ankle joint, and the sesamoid bone that is enclosed inside the tendon. So these are all very short in nature. That's why we call that as short bones. Then flat bones, bones that are thin and flat. Okay, that for example, cranial bones are examples of flat bones. Then sternum in the anterior aspect of the chest is an example of flat bone. Okay, then irregular bones, the bones which we cannot describe any shape. Okay, so we call it as innominate bone or irregular bones. So the hip region, in the pelvis we have the right innominate and the left innominate bone. We call it as irregular bone, and the vertebral bones are also an example of irregular bones. Okay, so this is example of flat bone in the body. Then the sesamoid bone. What is a sesamoid bone? Any bone that is placed inside the tendon of a muscle, we call it as sesamoid bone. I will teach you when I am teaching the bones of the upper lip. Okay, then you have the short bones which are very small in nature. Okay, then you have the long bones and irregular bones. So these are all the different types of bones that are present. Okay, so coming to the names of the human skeleton, just know this axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton, because as far as name is concerned we are going to discuss that in a separate lecture. So this is just the introduction part. Okay, now you can see the examples of long bone, short bones, irregular bones and the flat bones. Okay, coming to the bone structure, as I told you, there are bones that are spongy in nature and that are very hard and compact in nature. Okay, it depends on the functions. For example, some bones they are present to protect the structure. Some bones they are arranged in the form that it transfers the body weight. Okay, so when you say about this spongy bone, so what happens? There is something called trabecular system. There is something called as trabecular system, in which the bone cells are arranged in the body weight bearing line. So the body weight is transferred according to the bone cell arrangement. Okay, so I will show you the two parts. One is, for example, here you can see these are the bone cells that is arranged in this manner. Okay, if you look at the femur also, you can see all the bone cells are arranged in the weight bearing line. So that's what we call it as the trabecular system. That's what we call it as trabecular system. Let's go to the parts of the bone. See, when you take a long bone, we have upper end. This is the upper end and this is the lower end, and this is the shaft region. Okay, this is upper end, this is the lower end, and this is the shaft region. So when you come to the upper end, we call it as a proximal end because it is towards the midline. Then this is a distal end because it is away from the midline. Okay, so bone has two layers. One is the periosteum, this is the outermost layer, and the endosteum, this is the innermost layer, and deep to that you have the spongy bone. Deep to that you have the spongy bone. For example, if you see, this is a spongy bone, this is a endosteum, and this is a periosteum. This is a periosteum. Inside to that there is a cavity that's called as medullary cavity, where there is location of this bone marrow. Okay, this bone marrow in young age will be red in color. They produce blood cells. As age progresses, this red bone marrow is changing into yellow bone marrow because the fat cells comes and accumulate in this region. Okay, so the ends of the long bone is always called as epiphysis. The shaft of the long bone we call it as diaphysis. Okay, the ends of the long bone we call it as epiphysis, and the shaft of the long bone is called a diaphysis. So the epiphysis is connected to the diaphysis by this epiphyseal line, also called as epiphyseal growth plate. So this is a cartilaginous in nature up to the certain age. So later it will be converted into bone cells. Okay, so this is the growth plate. We will discuss that about the bone growth. So just know this is epiphysis. The ends are called epiphysis, and the shaft is called as the diaphysis. Shaft is called as the diaphysis. Okay, so now coming to the structure of the bone. The bone consists of thin plates of periosteum covered compact bone and on the outside, and endosteum covered by spongy bone within. Okay, the bones are not cylindrical and so they have no shaft or epiphysis. They contain bone marrow between the tubercles, but no significant marrow cavity is present. Okay, so coming to the diaphysis, as I told you, it is the shaft of the bone. It is long, present in the long bone, made of a thick compact bone. Then the epiphyses are called as the ends of the bone. It is also made of compact bone, and they are covered by hyaline articular cartilage. All the long bones are articulating surfaces are covered by hyaline articular cartilage. So coming to the epiphyseal line, as I told you, this epiphyseal line is called as epiphyseal growth plate. It is called as the epiphyseal growth plate. So they are found in the adult bones. So for example, when you cut the 7-year-old boy bone, the epiphyseal growth plate is like a cartilage. Okay, when you cut a 40-year-old man bone, it is a thick compact bone. The growth plate is, the epiphyseal line is converted into a strong bone. So normally the human growth is up to, for male they grow up to 22 years, female they grow up to 18 to 20 years. Okay, so this is a normal growth age. So whenever there is any disturbance in the growth, plate, then certain area doesn't grow, so that leads to limb shortening. I will show you some of the examples of the epiphyseal growth plate. Okay, then the membranes. Okay, the membranes, so the outermost layer of the bone is called as a periosteum. The inner compact bone, we call it as a endosteum. Okay, you know what, the periosteum is having it's like a membranous structure. So the outermost layer, which is having more amount of sensory nerve fibers. Okay, so and also blood vessels. So the blood vessels enter into the bone through small holes in the bone. We call it as nutrient foramen. There are two theories for blood supply for the bone. We will discuss that when I am explaining about the microscopic structure of the bone. Okay, so coming here, the periosteal membrane is attached to the endosteum by sharp piece fibers. So the endosteum is nothing but the compact bone and the spongy bone. We will see that. Then articular cartilages are nothing but the hyaline articular cartilage. These cartilages are present in the ends of the bone. They are covering the articulating surfaces. So when one bone articulates, does friction with the other bone, this articulating cartilage prevents the friction of the bones. Okay, so this is made up of hyaline cartilage. And the medullary cavity is also called as is present in the shaft of the bone, which consists of yellow bone marrow in old adults, and red bone marrow in the younger ages. Okay, so this is a periosteum, the outermost layer, and these are the sharpie fibers, and these are the blood vessels. I will discuss that separately with the microscopic structure. Okay, then this entry point is called the hole in the bone. We call it as a nutrient foramen, through which the blood vessels are entering into the bone. Okay, then coming to the structure of long bone, you know, the proximal, this is epiphysis and this is a diaphysis, and there is a bone marrow present in the center of the bone. Okay, now let's discuss a few words about the hemopoietic tissue, that is a red bone marrow present in the medullary cavity of the long bone. Okay, so you know what, in young age these medullary cavities are red in color. In this medullary cavity the blood cells are produced, which we call it as hemopoiesis. or hematopoiesis, whatever it is. So as age is progressing, this hematopoiesis, this bone marrow cells, bone marrow is replaced with the fat cells, okay, the adipose tissue, and that changes into yellow in color. So that's what we call it as yellow bone marrow. Okay, so this is a aging process. This is called as this is one of the aging process in the adult. Then coming to the microscopic anatomy of the bone. So you have to know there are bone is made up of 5 different type of cells. Sorry, only one cell, that is osteophytes. Okay, how these osteophytes are formed? They are formed from this osteoclast. Okay, and these osteoclasts are surrounded by bone lining cells. Okay, so then this immature osteoclast, we call it as osteocytes. Then immature osteocyte is called as osteoblast. Then the immature osteoblast cells are stem cells, that is called as osteogenic stem cells. So let us discuss these cells one by one, then only you will understand. Okay, in this picture what you see here is, first the bone is formed like a osteogenic cell, we call it as a stem cell. This is from this cell only the osteocytes are formed. Okay, so what happens, these stem cells will mature and they change in the shape, and this we call it as osteoblast, that is the immature cell of the bone cell. So this osteoblast will mature and forms this cellular extension and takes the name as osteocyte or osteophyte, whichever it is. Okay, so what happens, these osteocyte cells club together to form a cluster. So that's what we call it as osteoclast, that is the group of osteocyte cells club together to form a hard tissue, that is called as a osteoclast. Okay, so these are the cells that the bone is made up of. Okay, so now we will see the cells one by one. The osteogenic cells, also called as osteoprogenerator. Okay, mitotically active stem cell, they are the stem cells. From stem cells only everything develops. Okay, when simulated, these cells differentiate into osteoblasts and bone lining cells. Then the osteoblast, produced by osteogenic cells if there is an increase in stress or fracture of the bone. So they form the unmineralized bone matrix, that is 90% of collagen and calcium binding proteins. When surrounded by matrix, they become the osteocytes. So osteocytes are the bone cells, actual bone cells, act as a stress and strain receptors and respond to mechanical stimuli. The bone lining cells, the flat cells found in the bone surfaces where bone remodeling is not going on. Okay, so helps to maintain the bone matrix. Then osteoclasts are the giant multinucleated cells. As I told you, the multiple number of osteocyte cells join together to form the osteoclast. They club and form the osteoclast. Okay, breaks down bone matrix by secreting acids and enzymes. Components of matrix mainly consist of calcium and phosphorus, and they are released into the blood. Differentiate from the same hematopoietic stem cells that give macrophages. Okay, now let's go to the compact bone. Compact bone are very dense bone. Okay, thick bone. It also contains canals and passageways. The structural unit of compact bone is called as the osteon and the Haversian system. So I will show you another one picture so that you will have a better understanding. So this is a cross section. This is a cross section of a long bone. This is a microscopy. I am going to explain the microscopic structure of the long bone. So what you see here is, I have made a cross section here. So this fiber is the periosteum. This fiber is the periosteum, the outermost layer. Okay, the outermost layer. On the periosteum, you have the blood vessels, that is the periosteal arteries and the periosteal vein. They are running on the periosteum, and these branches are entering into the periosteal membrane. Okay, now I will remove this periosteum, and you can see this is how the branches are spreading into the bone. So on the under the periosteal layer there are a lot of sensory nerve fibers. These are the periosteal sensory nerve fibers. So if there is any direct hit on the bone, it generates severe amount of pain impulse. It generates severe amount of pain impulse. So if you look here, from this part till this part, let me draw and show. From here till here we call it as a compact bone. So from here till here we call it as the spongy bone. This is the spongy bone. And from here till here we call it as the bone marrow, the medullary cavity. This is the medullary cavity where the bone marrow is present. Now you can, if you look closely, okay, this is one circle, this is another circle. So all these circles are placed in the circumferential manner. Okay, that is what we call it as circumferential lamellae. Okay, so if you take one circle, this is one circle, in this circle, if you take one circle here, the bone cells are arranged in a circular manner. Okay, this is called as circular lamellae. So this is circular lamellae. This complete circular structure is called as circumferential lamellae. Okay, so all this circular arrangement of the cells are called as circumferential lamellae, whereas in one single circle you can see there are osteocyte cells that are arranged in a circular manner. So this is called as circular lamellae. Okay, so one circular lamellae set is called as osteon. Okay, one circular lamellae set is called as the osteon. Okay, so as I told you, as far as blood supply is concerned, blood supply to the bone is concerned, there are two theories. One theory says that the bone cells are receiving the blood supply through these periosteal blood vessels. Other theory says that the bone cells are receiving blood through the endosteal blood vessels. These are all the endosteal blood vessels. So these are all called as the endosteal blood vessels. So this, according to theory number 2, the bone cells are receiving nutrition through these blood vessels. According to theory number 1, the bone cells are receiving the blood through these periosteal blood vessels. So, and these fibers are called as the Sharpey's fiber. So it helps to attach the periosteum with the endosteum. Okay, so now what you can do is, let us speak about the osteon. So this is one osteon, and you can see there are osteocyte cells that are arranged in the circular manner. 1, 2, 3, 4 circles are present. Okay, so at the center there is a hole. In the center, that canal, it's like a canal, you see. Okay, so if you see, this canal is coming all the way down. This is called as the Haversian canal. One Haversian canal is connected by the another Haversian canal. See, this is a Haversian canal. Okay, and this Haversian canal, one Haversian canal is connected by another Haversian canal by the Volkmann's canal. This is called as the Volkmann's canal. So through which the blood vessels are exchanged. Okay, the blood vessels are communicating. So when you come to the microscopic structure of the bone, don't forget the periosteum, don't forget the endosteum. This is the endosteum. This is a spongy bone, and this is a medulla where the bone marrow is present. Okay, so in the endosteum, the compact bone, there are circumferential lamellae. These are the circumferential lamellae. These are the circumferential lamellae, and in the circumferential lamellae you can see one circular lamellae. One set of circular lamellae is called as the osteon. Okay, which is made up of this multiple number of osteophyte cells. So at the center of the osteon there is a canal that is called as a Haversian canal, through which the artery, vein and the lymph vessels are entering. These are all microscopic structure. Okay, through which the artery veins are ending. So one osteon is connected by the other osteon by the one Haversian canal is connected by the other Haversian canal by this Volkmann's canal. So this is the microscopic structure of the bone you need to understand. You need to understand about this microscopic structure of the bone. Okay, so coming here, same thing. You can see the same picture. This is the epiphysis, this is the compact bone, and this is the spongy bone. Okay, so here you have the blood vessels in the this complete set is called as the osteon, where there is a Haversian canal in the center, and this is the Volkmann's canal. This is the Volkmann's canal. Okay, so I hope you understood about the microscopic structure of the bone. Okay, now components of the osteon. So when you take the osteon, there are central circular lamellae, okay, which is made up of these osteocyte cells, and in the center you have the nerve, arteries and the veins, and also lymph vessels, okay. So what you see here is the arrangement of osteophyte cells. We call it as a Haversian system. Okay, so let's go to the Haversian system. Okay, in the Haversian canal you have the blood vessels and the nerves. Okay, that central hole in the osteon is called as the Haversian canal. Okay, and some book it's including the circular lamellae, we call it as osteon. Okay, that is how the bone cells are formed. Coming to the spongy bone, you see this is a cut section of the femur. And here you have the hip bone, the ilium bone, ischium and pubis, they are connected here, the acetabular cavity. Okay, so when the person is standing, the weight comes in this direction. So I want to write here. Okay, the weight is coming in this direction. Okay, the weight is coming in this direction. So what happens if you see, if you see the bone cells that are arranged in this weight bearing line, can you see this? The bone cells are arranged in the weight bearing line. Okay, then these bone cells are going in this. Okay, this is a weight bearing line. So this arrangement of bone cells in the weight bearing line, we call it as the trabecular pattern. We call it as the trabecular system. So what happens in case of osteoporosis, these trabecular cells are the calcium present in the trabecular systems is utilized, and the bone, this pattern of cell arrangement is disturbed. So what happens, it is this kind of bones are prone for pathological fracture or stress fracture. Okay, this is osteoporosis. In osteoporosis, due to loss of calcium in this trabecular system, the bone may fracture. So this is very common for old age females, as they are more prone for osteoporosis, Okay, coming to the bone development. Okay, during the time of birth there is no bone, only the cartilage is present. Okay, and the first bone to be formed in the intrauterine life is the clavicle bone, the collarbone. Okay, so the term we use for formation of bone is called as ossification. The term that we use for formation of bone is called as the ossification. Okay, so there are two types of formation of bones. One is the bones are formed from the membranes, and other is the bones are formed from the cartilage. Okay, the neural tube, the full complete bones are formed in the mesoderm, the middle layer of the embryo. The bones are formed in the middle layer of the embryo. The complete bones are formed in the middle layer of the embryo. So in the intrauterine life, the bones are formed in the form of cartilage. Okay, the limb bones are present in the form of cartilage. From the cartilage only, the cartilage cells are replaced into bone cells. Okay, and also the skull bones are formed in the form of membranes. Okay, so that's what we call it as membranous ossification, that is bones formed from the membranes. And endochondral ossification means bones formed from the cartilage. Okay, so as I told you, osteogenesis, ossification is otherwise called as the process of bone formation. Then remodeling is bone substance deposition in response to stress and repair of the bone. That is the remodeling process of the bone. So coming to the formation of the bone, the 6th week is made entirely from fibrous membrane and hyaline cartilage. Okay, this is a 6th week embryo. It is like form of a cartilage only. You can see the limb bud. This is the limb, upper limb bud, and this is the lower limb bud, and this is the neural tube. Okay, so at 6th week the bone begins to develop and eventually replace most of the existing fibrous or cartilage structures. Well, the process of one developing from fibrous membrane is called as intramembranous ossification. That's the membranous bone. And the process of formation of bone from the cartilage, we call it as endochondral ossification. You see, this is a fetus where the bones are like a form of a cartilage. It is not a bone. Okay, from this cartilage, the chondrocyte cells are replaced into osteophyte cells. Okay, so as I told you, it begins from week 8 and up to 22 years the person grows, the bone keeps growing. Okay, so as far as endochondral ossification is concerned, bone forms by replacing hyaline cartilage, and bones called cartilaginous bones, and it forms most of the skeleton. All the long bones are formed from are having endochondral ossification. Whereas intramembranous ossification is concerned, like skull bones, they are derived from the membranes. Okay, likewise the clavicle, that is also a membranous ossification. The collarbone. Okay, coming to the endochondral ossification, most bones formed by the process of endochondral ossification. Process begins late in the 7th month of development. Process uses hyaline cartilage as the pattern of bone growth construction. During this process, cartilage is broken into ossification proceeds. Okay, here you can see this is a limb. So this is a form of cartilage. So in the cartilage, the central cartilage matrix is replaced by these bone cells. So there the blood vessel increases and bone cells keeps multiplying. So when it is multiplying, the epiphysis is formed separately and the diaphysis is formed separately. So this diaphysis forms a medullary cavity, and the epiphysis is growing. So this is called as the epiphyseal growth plate, and this is the place where bone keeps growing in this direction. This is the place where bone keeps growing in this direction. I can show you here. The bone keeps growing in this direction. So what happens, this growth is present in this direction up to 20 to 22 years. Suppose during the time of any road traffic accident, if there is fracture in this epiphyseal growth plate, then that leads to limb shortening. Okay, so this is the important thing you have to understand. This is about the epiphyseal growth plate. So make sure that there is no fracture till 20 years in this epiphyseal growth plate. Okay, if there is fracture in the shaft, there is no issue. It is not going to affect the bone growth. Coming to the intramembranous ossification results in the formation of most bones of the skull and the clavicles. Notices that these are flat bones. Fibrous connective tissue membranes formed by the mesenchymal cells serves as the initial support structure on which ossification begins at the 8th week of development. As I told you, the clavicle is the first bone to be formed in the intrauterine life. Okay, then followed by the skull bones. All these are formed from the membranes. Okay, so here you can see in the membrane the osteoclast cells club together and form the flat bones, and it is forming the flat bones. Okay, as far as postnatal, that is bone growth after birth, if you see, one is longitudinal growth and oppositional growth. Okay, this is nothing but thickening of the bone. This is nothing but increase in length of the bone. As I told you, this is a growth plate, and this is the place where the bone growth is taking place. In interstitial growth, the bone grows in this direction. In the oppositional growth, the bone gets thickened in this direction. Okay, and here you can see the osteoclast cells that is formed in order to increase the thickness of the bone. So as I told you, there are interstitial growth and oppositional growth. Both this growth taking place in parallel. Okay, some facial bones such as the nose and the lower jaw continue to grow throughout the life, but we don't have more literature on that. Okay, so coming to the childhood bone, the bone of 7-year-old boy, you see this is the radius, and you can see this is the epiphyseal growth plate. And this is the place where the bone growth. So when you take the x-ray of the 25-year-old adult, this growth plate disappears, because when the bone growth finishes, what happens, this growth plate is replaced by the bone cells, and this epiphyseal growth plate line disappears. So don't think this is a fracture. So cartilage, they don't have calcium, that is why the line it's not visible. So this is not a fracture. Okay, this is a cartilage, that is the growth plate, epiphyseal growth plate. Okay, so in young age you can see this epiphyseal growth plate in all long bones. Here this is a growth plate, here this is a growth plate, this one, all these are the epiphyseal growth plate, whereas same epiphyseal growth plate is absent in the adult bone. You see, you don't appreciate any epiphyseal growth plate. Okay, so don't think this is a fracture. This is a normal, but it is a cartilage, where the cartilage is present, and that's the place where the bone growth is taking place. Okay, so coming to the long bone growth and remodeling, bone growth remodeling involves formation and resorption. As I told you, this bone growth and remodeling is a continuous journey, okay, in the human life. So let's see a few words about it. So coming to this, the bone keeps growing in the epiphyseal plate in both this direction, whereas remodeling is that it's the oppositional growth changes. This is the so this kind of oppositional growth, that is thickening of the bone, takes place according to the bone weight bearing line. According to the both weight bearing. Suppose if you look at the bones of a person with genu varum or genu where knock knee and bony deformities, the thickness of the bone will be different. Whereas if you take the bones of the normal person who have straight leg, the thickness of the bone will be different. Okay, you can study this oppositional growth changes there. So coming to the bone repair, so breaking, bone is a live tissue. It is a tissue. Bone is a connective tissue, and it is made up of osteophyte cells, but it is hard. Because the cells are very hard. You are able to the cell is alive. Okay, if there is any break, then that goes for healing process. Okay, so imagine whenever there is a fracture of the bone, there is accumulation of blood. That accumulated blood goes for inflammatory process, then it is replaced by the bone callus tissue. This callus tissue will go in for remodeling, that we will discuss now. So calcium and phosphorus are needed to strengthen and harden the bone after fracture. They are deposited only gradually and may take several months. Okay, so whenever there is a fracture, there is formation of hematoma. What is hematoma? Accumulation of blood in the fracture site or any place where there is accumulation of the blood, we call it as hematoma. Okay, so after this hematoma is processed, in 48 hours the inflammation will start for that hematoma in the fracture site. So when the inflammation starts, you have to place the bone without any movement. So what happens? There will be gradual formation of callus tissue at the hematoma inflammation site. Okay, there is fibers bridging in the broken ends of the bone. So this are the osteoblast cells, immature bone cells, that is forming a callus like thick sponge like tissues in the fracture site. Okay, so that callus will go in for hardening. Okay, so in this process the calcium is very essential. So only when there is calcium, the callus will go for hardening. That's why when there is a fracture, those patients are given with calcium supplements in order to increase the supply of calcium in the bone callus site formation. Okay, here you see the bone fracture, the blood is accumulated here. This blood is accumulated by a neovascularization process, that is called as formation of minute capillary beds in the hematoma site. We call it as neovascularization. Okay, so that leads to formation of callus and hardening of callus, and that formed callus will go in for remodeling. Okay, so this is a normal healing process. This is the normal healing process, you can see. Okay, fine. So there are different types of fractures. One is comminuted fracture, where you see one bone fragment is broken into multiple fragments. Okay, then spiral fracture, the bone twists and it breaks into two parts, and depressed fracture, the skull goes inside. Okay, that is the depressed fracture. Wedge compression fracture, so when there is heavy weight, if there is osteoporosis, what happens? The body of the vertebra can fracture and it can compress on each other. That's called as wedge compression fracture. Epiphyseal plate, as I told you, this is the place where the epiphysis is present. Sometimes when the kids they fall down, the epiphysis will slip. So this is going to affect the growth of this growth in this place. So what happens? This left leg will be short and the right leg will be long. So the patient will walk in a disturbed manner. Okay, so we have to increase the foot of one side so that both the leg lands in the surface at equal length. Okay, then green stick fracture. This is just a fracture in the bone like a green stick, but there is no separation of these fragments. Okay, osteoporosis, as I told you, this is age related changes. So this is a normal bone where there is more amount of osteophyte cells. whereas what happens, these calciums are resorbed and that leads to porous bone. Okay, so this has less capacity to bear the weight, so that is what we call it as osteoporosis. It is common in menopausal females and also in the old age. Okay, there are common sites for osteoporosis, especially in the neck of the femur and trochanteric region, and the vertebral bodies, thoracolumbar junction vertebral bodies. These are all the common sites for osteoporosis. So the treatment, it includes calcium and vitamin D supplement and weight bearing exercise. Okay, as far as bone theory is concerned, more you give stress for a bone, more the calcium holds in that place and it will be stronger. If these bones are not given stress, then bone loses the calcium and osteoporosis develop. So for females, this hormone replacement therapy will help, and also drugs such as bisphosphonates decreases the osteoclast activity. Okay, these are all some of the introduction about the bone you have to know. So now we will go